Hello and thank you all for joining us this morning. You're watching our mid-morning edition of Arirang News on this Monday, March 30th, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Heung-min. Before we begin, these are the stories we're following at this hour. South Korean President Moon Jae-in is mulling over giving out financial support to some 10 million low-income households to help them get through the economic difficulties caused by the coronavirus. That decision likely to be discussed in the Emergency Economic Council meeting this morning. Another point of concern, the start of the new school year. The South Korean government will announce whether or not students will return to classes next Monday after a delay of 1 full month, with online classes also being a possibility. On path to set the global standard, South Korea is now a step closer to getting its diagnosis method for infectious diseases approved by the International Standard Organization. President Moon Jae-in will be chairing a third session of the Emergency Economic Council shortly. Officials say they will be discussing measures to support people's livelihoods as the coronavirus outbreak weighs on the South Korean economy. The government is expected to decide on the scope and the size of the emergency disaster funds to be used to help people get through the crisis. Although the government has been cautious about the idea, it's thought that they might offer a basic income to households that make less than the median income. Just last week, President Moon said the government had doubled its relief package to $80 billion to support not only mom and pop stores, but also medium and large size companies. And to tackle the economic fallout from the coronavirus pandemic, South Korea's central bank will be injecting $12 billion into the local market. Now, this is the first batch of the $60 billion to be injected under a currency swap deal with the United States. Our Kim Hyo-sun tells us more.
The Bank of Korea is set to supply $12 billion into the local market in its first round of dollar injections using a currency swap line with the U.S. The central bank said Sunday that it will receive bids for foreign currency loans from local financial institutions on Tuesday, with the money being injected from Thursday following the bidding process. The bid is taking place in just 13 days since the Bank of Korea and the Federal Reserve agreed on a $60 billion swap line. It added the ceiling amount for the bidding is set at $300 million for loans that mature in 7 days and $1.5 billion for 84-day loans. The supply is expected to stabilize markets, and the central bank explained it will consider holding more auctions after examining the demand for dollars.
We expect the move will contribute to easing the uncertainties we've seen in South Korea's foreign exchange market.
Starting April, the Korea Development Bank, a state-owned bank, will provide $1.5 billion in a corporate bond takeover scheme. It says its first target is the nation's airline industry, which has been hardest hit by the pandemic. Together with the Industrial Bank of Korea, the KDB will also purchase corporate bills worth some $1.6 billion. Kim Jong-un, Arirang News.
As fears over the coronavirus linger in the country, South Korea's Education Ministry is considering opening online classes for students if it decides to push back the start of the semester yet again. Now, this as schools from kindergarten through high school nationwide has been shut for more than a month as part of the government's efforts to stem the spread of the coronavirus. Our Heung-min reports.
The South Korean government is due to announce its latest decision on school openings, which have already been pushed back weeks as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak. As it stands, schools and kindergartens in South Korea are scheduled to open on April 6, but authorities are mulling over opening online classes as they don't expect the coronavirus to be contained by next Monday. The announcement is due within the next 24 to 48 hours. A member of the National Assembly's Education Committee, Cho Seung-lee, said on Sunday, after a meeting with the government, that the date for opening schools cannot differ by region as the curriculum is linked to college entrance exams for high schoolers. He said it would be difficult to open schools too quickly as parents are concerned about the health of their children. Even if the government decides to open online classes, there are worries regarding students and schools having the proper platforms and equipment to undertake such an unprecedented move. Cho added he also asked schools to secure enough face masks for children, teachers, and other school staff. The Education Ministry is reportedly fine-tuning details, including whether they will open online classes for high schools first or open them all simultaneously. The government said it will discuss with health authorities, parents, and education authorities before announcing its decision. So far in South Korea, more than 600 confirmed coronavirus cases have been reported in those under the age of 19 years old. Heung-min, Arirang News.
South Korea's Prime Minister Chung Se-kyun called on local authorities to thoroughly manage all entrants coming into the country starting this Wednesday, April 1st, when the country begins enforcing a 2-week mandatory quarantine for all travelers, no matter their nationality or where they flew in from. During a meeting this Monday, the Prime Minister also asked authorities for the exceptional monitoring of all international students coming into the country. Now, such a call as South Korea sees a steady rise in the number of imported infection cases. Here's Prime Minister Chung Se-kyun on the 2-week mandatory quarantine announcement on Sunday.
As of April 1st, regardless of region or nationality, South Korea will quarantine all visitors from abroad for 2 weeks. If they do not have a place to stay in the country, they will be quarantined for 2 weeks at facilities provided by the South Korean government, and the cost will be borne by the visitor.
He also explained the measures will effectively deter tourists coming into the country and manage the growing imported cases. On Sunday, South Korea reported a total of 105 new cases of the virus, bringing the national total confirmed cases to 9,583, with 5,033 being cured and 152 having passed. Of the new 105 cases, 41 involved entrants from overseas. And imported cases now account for over 4% of the total confirmed cases here in South Korea. The number of confirmed COVID-19 cases globally has soared past 700,000, with the total rising by 100,000 over the past 2 days alone. Italy, Spain, the UK, and the United States remain the hardest hit countries at this current point of the pandemic's cycle. Our Lee Seung-jae tells us more.
The number of COVID-19 cases worldwide surpassed the 700,000 mark on Sunday, with more than 33,000 people dead. In Spain, 838 people died from the virus on Sunday, raising the total death toll to over 6,500, with the numbers continuing to rise. Among the over 70,000 confirmed cases in the country, at least 500 police officers are confirmed to have been infected in Madrid. Late last week, Spain's Princess Maria Teresa of Bourbon-Parma also became the first royal to die from COVID-19 at the age of 86. In Italy, despite the number of confirmed cases still being in the thousands every day, the numbers seem to be on a slight decline. After seeing an infection rate of over 10% during the past week, it saw its rate drop to the 5% range on Sunday. However, with the nation now surpassing 10,000 deaths, its 11% fatality rate is the highest anywhere in the world. In Japan, the island nation is seeing its new daily confirmed cases in the hundreds for the third straight day. Many have criticized the transparency of Japan's reports, with the sudden rise in the numbers coinciding with last week's announcement of postponing the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. The United States continues to see its infection numbers rise, with the latest numbers topping 135,000. With hundreds dying each day, the death toll is closing in on 2,400. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the U.S. could see over 1 million infections and at least 100,000 deaths. With little to no slowdown in the number of infections, the number of COVID-19 cases worldwide is on pace to surpass 1 million this week. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
South Korea is on the tip of the spear when it comes to diagnosing various infectious diseases, that including the COVID-19. South Korea's Industry and Trade Ministry said Monday that the authorization process for the country's real-time polymers chain reaction technique has been approved by the ISO, the International Standard Organization, as DIS, or Draft International Standard. Now, the technique is embedded in coronavirus test kits currently in use here in South Korea. It now awaits approval by all of the more than 160 member countries that make up the ISO for it to be declared the international standard. The ministry expects the authorization to make it easier for South Korean businesses in the field to expand into the global market. Artificial intelligence is playing a key role in helping to curb the spread of the coronavirus here in South Korea. From thermal imaging cameras to a large telecommunications company using big data, cutting-edge technology is being used to save lives. Our Chang Tae-hyun with this report.
Walking into this building, there is no one checking body temperatures. But there's a camera watching you. This artificial intelligence technique checks people's body heat, and it operates 24 hours a day.
We're combining the data from the thermal imaging cameras to the real body temperatures. Its biggest advantage is that no one is needed to monitor it themselves directly.
As a person passes by, the camera will detect the temperature of the background and the person. This technology can be used in places like schools and companies where there are lots of people coming and going.
Dormitories or student unions, or where many students visit. Rather than checking a person one by one, a thermal imaging camera is much more efficient.
When the camera detects abnormal temperatures, it will send the information to the control center in 0.2 seconds. This is a police station at Gyeongsan City in Gyeongsangbuk-do Province, where the officer is checking the area using the monitor. To contain the COVID-19 outbreak, the police will patrol areas where many people are commuting. The station asked the telecommunications company to offer real-time data of floating population. As a result, the company analyzed the big data to develop a program.
If we offer real-time data of floating population, that way people would know where to disinfect or patrol.
Thanks to this technology, police officers are implementing proper countermeasures to contain the spread of the coronavirus. Chang Tae-hyun, Arirang News.
Shifting focus, North Korea says it has tested what they're calling super large multiple rocket launchers on Sunday. Its state-run media reported this morning that Sunday's test was aimed at quote-unquote verifying the strategic and technical characteristics of a super large multiple rocket launcher once again, and added that the test was indeed successful. However, there was no mention of whether the leader Kim Jong-un personally observed the launch or the confirmation on where the test was actually held. Reacting to the test firing, the U.S. State Department urged North Korea to refrain from provocations and return to the denuclearization talks. It urged Pyongyang to abide by its duty under the UN Security Council resolutions, calling for the regime to return to the table for talks for complete denuclearization. The message is the same in principle as its previous responses to the regime's test firings this year.
Good morning. We had a chilly start to the day, but highs will rise fast, hovering way above the season norms in most parts of the country by the afternoon. So it looks to be another nice spring day as long as we're aware of the big temperature differences. Meanwhile, northwestern regions are under a dry weather advisory, that's including here in Seoul, while central west regions will have bad levels of fine dust. So those in southern parts of Gyeonggi-do Province and Sejong City will have a dry and dusty Monday. Back to the readings again. Afternoon temperatures will be slightly higher than Sunday, ranging from 15 to 18 degrees Celsius, and Seoul will get up to 17 degrees under bright skies. Typical spring weather will continue this week in Seoul, but Jeju will see rain on Tuesday, and southern and eastern regions will see rain on Wednesday. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for news around the world.
And that is our time at this hour on Arirang News. As always, thank you for watching and goodbye.